With the help of Hashem, we are learning Rosh Hashana Daf Lamed. We left off on Daf Chavtes Amid Beis, 4 lines before the bottom of the Amid. Today we're going to start quoting Rav Huna, who either made a statement on that which the Mishnah spoke out, that Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, from the many takanas he made after the Koren Beis HaMikdash, is that he said that even when Rosh Hashana falls on Shabbos, la'achar ha'churban, the shofar should be blown in the Beis Din, as we learned the machloikis, whether only in the Great Sanhedrin, whether Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai said to blow the shofar Rosh Hashana Shabbos, even in a minor Sanhedrin. But Rav Huna either made a statement regarding Rabbi Yochanan's takana, or as we will see, Rav Huna made his statement regarding some detail of the shofar blowing that happens on Yom Kippur of the Yovel year. After we're going to learn that, from there we're going to go into many other takanas that were made by Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, Zecher LeMikdash, and really 2 of the many takanas that we're going to learn today, we mamish learned not that long ago. There was a sugya that we have on Sukkah Daf Mem Aleph regarding the Chadash. From when on can a person eat a Chadash? Takanas Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai linked to the building of the third Beis HaMikdash, as we'll quote again. Shitas Rashi here, as we learned also there in Sukkah, Shitas Rashi and Tosfos, that the third Beis HaMikdash will come down from the heavens. It's going to be built by God, and therefore it's going to be built very quick. We're going to learn another sugya that we also had even closer to here, and that was a sugya that we had on Beitza Daf Dalid, regarding until when can the Beis Din receive Eidim that are testifying that they saw the new moon on Rosh Hashana. Really, the Eidim can be received the entire day, mamash until it gets dark, as we just learned in the beginning of the last Perek. As long as they paskin mekudesh before it's dark, that's fine. But there was a kilkul. Something went off on the Rosh Hashana with the Leviim's shiur. And because of that kilkul, they made a takana that the Eidim can only be received until Mincha. And again, after the Beis HaMikdash was destroyed, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai said, now that there's no Beis HaMikdash, now that the Leviim are not singing their unique melody during the Avodah of the Tamid Shel Bein Harbaim, we can go back to receiving the Eidim the entire day. But that's already going to open us into the sugya of what exactly did the Leviim sing every day in the Beis HaMikdash. Now really, that's Mishnah's Tamid. If you remember, we also learned that, but a while back already. Here in Rosh Hashana, we're going to be speaking about the unique lyrics that they would sing on Yomim Tovim on Rosh Hashana. We're going to have a machloikis amoyroim exactly what was that kilkul. And once we're going to open up the topic of the Shira of the Leviim, that's already going to give a continuity into Daf Lamed Aleph, as you'll see, regarding many other meanings of why did the Leviim choose, why was it chosen for the Leviim to sing unique lyrics, primarily Kapitlach and Tehillim, for any given weekday. That's already going to be tomorrow. It's connected to the theme of that day and much, much more. So let us start on Daf Chavtes Amid Beis. Again, we left off 4 lines before the bottom of the Amid. In the Mishnah, there was Nacha Machloikis as to what is the takana of Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. So the Tanakama quotes that once the Beis HaMikdash was destroyed, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai made a takana that wherever there is a Beis Din, that's where the Beis Din should blow the shofar on Rosh Hashana, even though it's on Shabbos. Rabbi Elazar said no, that he only made a takana to blow the shofar on Yavna. We explained that means only in the Great Sanhedrin, because one of the areas to where the Sanhedrin went into Golus was in Yavna, but not in any Beis Din. And then Amrullah, let's read it inside here again. Amr Ablazar lohiskan Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai elo Yavna bilvat. So Amrullah, they said back to Rabbi Elazar, no, echad Yavna ve'echad kol makom sheyesh by Beis Din. And what it sounds is like the Tanakama is standing the Tanakama's ground. And that's very unusual. I mean, when you have a machloikis, one Tana says A, another Tana says B. You don't have the Mishnah saying, but the first Tana says, no, it's A. It's already written. Must be that the Amrullah is a third Shita. And now we want to know what is that third opinion. So the Gemara says, Amrullah looks like it's the Tanakama, and it can be. It's another opinion. So the Gemara answers, you're right. There are really 3 opinions in the Mishnah. The Tanakama, Rabbi Lazar, and the Amruloi's opinion, all arguing as to exactly what is the takon of Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. And ikebenayu beidina da'akroi, as if you have a temporary beis din, not a beis din that is fixed in that place, ba'ofen kavua, but for some reason they needed to convene in that place. So as Rashi speaks out, according to the Tanakh, if you look at the words of the Tanakh, he holds that you would also blow it over there. The Tanakh says the words that Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai said, B'chol makom sheyesh bo beis din. B'chol makom is a very inclusive statement. Let's read inside the Rashi 3 lines before the bottom of the Amid. The Tanakh takinon. And now Ablaza ben Zariah says, of course not. Only where there's the great Sanhedrin. And v'tana da amru loy savar echad yavne. But the echad kol makom sheyesh bo beis din kavua dubna diyavne. So the amru loy is not as broad as the first Tana, but it's still broader than Rabbi Lazar b'shitas Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. Okay. And again, the Gemara quotes the statement in the last line in the Amid, Amru loy echad yavne ve'echad kol makom sheyesh bo beis din. So now that we are speaking about Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, what's going to be negeh right now is not Tanakama, Rabbi Lazar, but this concept of blowing the shofar, even though it's on Shabbos, and even though, as we learned yesterday, that there was a takana that came way back, Rabbi just gave the words to it. Rabbi is the one that whom we quote, but he didn't make it. Gezeira da Rabba, oh, if you're going to blow shofar on Shabbos, everyone is chayv to blow the shofar. Not everyone is bucky in how to blow shofar. It might end up leading to carrying the shofar. We spoke out of Tosfos last time we learned this. Not you might carry it from indoors to outdoors. That people were less afraid of that, because when you walk out of a Mirashus HaYachid, you realize you're walking into a different environment. You're walking into it's Shabbos. But if you are outside, if it's already outside, you can walk within Daladamas. You can't walk beyond Daladamas. There are no reminders. It's easier for a person b'shoigeg to carry, so they said no blowing of the shofar. So Rav Huna made a statement, and the first version is that his statement was regarding this halacha, regarding Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai's statement that after the Beis HaMikdash is destroyed, you can blow it by beis din. Amar Rav Huna, on top of Daf Lamed, even though Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai was lenient, but what he meant was v'im beis din. It must be done with beis din. What does that mean? My v'im beis din. So the Gemara clarifies what he means is not yakir that beis din must blow it, but it means bifnei beis din. And as we'll see, there are different levels. There's blowing it in a place where there's no beis din. There's blowing it in a place where there is a beis din, but you might not have to be there, but you might have to blow it during the time that session is open. Now we know that beis din doesn't sit Shabbos and Yom Tiv to pasken dinim, but just to be aware that the hours of a beis din was from right after davening in the morning until noon. And just to know the psychology, during the times of a day that beis din normally is open, people b'chlal were more conscientious of keeping halacha. Interesting thing. Once it was in the afternoon, beis din is closed, there was a certain shift and people are more laid back and the mistakes might happen. So bifnei beis din, Rav Huna is saying it means that it's not enough for you to blow it, you understand, during the times that beis din is open. But Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai says that after the Churban, even though you're not in Yerushalayim, and not only according to the Tanakh, according to the Amru Loi, not only in the big beis din, but you blow shofar on Shabbos, it has to be mamish in the presence of beis din. And la'afuke, in other words, shaloi bifnei beis din. If it's not in their presence, right, even though you are in their city, even if it's during the time of the day that the session normally is open, in the morning, no. It has to be mamish in front of beis din. Now, Masiv Rava and Rav Huna, our Mishnah seems to imply otherwise. How? Because it says in our Mishnah, we pointed this out when we learned it yesterday. Right? More is that by Yavna you only would blow in beis din, and in Yerushalayim, as we mentioned, Yesed al Yavna, you would blow it not only in Yerushalayim, but you can blow it in the environs of Yerushalayim. And guys, we spoke out, just to make it clear, that was before the Churban, but after the Sanhedrin was exiled from Lishkas Hagazis, Because when they were in the Lishkas HaGazes, that's the way Rashi learns the opening line of the Mishnah, then it was only there. Once they left the Lishkas HaGazes, then by Yerushalayim they already allowed it to happen everywhere in Yerushalayim. Now, V'oidzos means there is something that Yerushalayim, so to say, is broader than Yavna, and this. The Mishnah never said the first thing. The Mishnah, and not only this, that. The Mishnah only said that, it never said the this. So what is it? My v'oidzos. If this is the only thing, then zois mi boyele. Elamai, there must be something else. And now we're trying to intuit, what is that something else? Elo de Yerushalayim toikim yichidim. That in Yerushalayim, it's not only the shliach beis din is the one that blows it on Rosh Hashana Shabbos, but even yichidim can blow it. Now, what does it mean, even Yechidim? That we'll have to clarify. Does Yechidim mean, Yechidim means anywhere. Shaloi b'fnei beis din. But Yechidim, and in Yavna, ain't toikin Yechidim, only the Shliach beis din. Now, before we come back to Rafuna, whoa, that's not true. Because Ubeyavna ain't toikim Yechidim, it's not emes. V'hoki asa Rabbi Yitzchak bar Yosef Amar, that ki Mesayim shlicha de tzibura tkiya b'Yavna. Okay, guys, we're after the Churban, the right Rabbi Yechanan and Zakkai's era. We are in Yavne, and it's Shabbos, Rosh Hashana. No, generally, Yidden don't blow the shofar, Shabbos, Rosh Hashana. But Kita Konas Rabbi Yechanan and Zakkai, they would blow it in Yavne. So after the Shliach Tzibur would blow it, Lishama ish kol unei mikol tikoi ayom estam en aramish the yichidoi. No, everyone blew the shofar. Everyone blew the shofar to the point that it was so much soundings of the shofar, you couldn't hear any other sound in your ear. Clearly, Yechidim blew it as well. So it must be that Yerushalayim toiken bein bizman beis din, bein shaloi bizman beis din. And in Yavne, only during the time that the beis din is open, that's when they would blow the shofar. But where? Everywhere. Shaloi b'zman beis din loy. So that was another thing that Yerushalayim had over Yavna. Now, says the Gemara, this is going to be now a question on Afuna. What does that imply? Even in Yavna. Ha b'zman beis din. During the time that beis din is normally open in session, so on Rosh Hashana they would blow the shofar there in Yavna. During that time, miyot toiken afilu shaloi b'fnei beis din. That's what it means. Not like Rafuna. Answers the Gemara, no. Yerushalayim has one up over Yavna, but in all cases, like Rafuna insists, the shofar can only be blown in the presence of beis din. And he says like this: Te'ilu b'Yerushalayim toikin bein b'fnei beis din, bein shaloi b'fnei beis din. That's only in Yerushalayim. Ubi Yavna b'fnei beis din in shaloi b'fnei beis din loy. Now people say this. Of course, what was even the kasha? I'll tell you what the kasha is. If we are explaining that like Rav Huna saying that other than Yerushalayim, it's only in beis din. Why would Yechidim blow it in front of beis din if they heard the Shliach Tzibur blowing? Normally, if bizman beis din, at least you can blow everywhere, makes sense. So if you're in Yavna, it's Taka Shabbos, but you're in the city of the Sanhedrin, everyone can blow. It would make sense. But insisting what Rav Huna is saying, no, that even in Yavna, only b'fnei beis din, we have a fact that there was many soundings of the shofar. Why would it be more than one? Like in the beis din, why would another yid blow it if the shliach tzibur is blowing it? That's why we didn't want to come to say this. But we are saying that's the way it was. And Taco, think about it. Why is it so? Well, listen, it makes sense to us. Today you have different minhagim. We spoke out how the Yemenites used a different type of horn. Maybe the Shliach Tzibur, we know that, people say that Lubavitch has a unique type of shvarim, emes. Even in the way we blow the shofar now, there are different ways of blowing the shofar. There's a whole topic in halacha. Do you take a breath between the shvarim and teruah, or do you not take a breath? And I know the way we do it. During the tkiyas, the meyushav, you don't take a breath. You make a pause. During the tkiyas, the meyumad, you do take a breath. There were people that felt that the Shliach Tzibur blew it only according to one opinion, and everyone came with their chumrah. Or Lubavitch is miftzayim. Could be someone came late to beis din. A yid came late, so the shliach tzibur already blew it. So we blew it for another yid. Point is that Rav Huna was not refuted. Anyways, this is the first version of that which Rav Huna said, and others, were in the middle of the first wide line. Ike the masna lahad Rav Huna. Rav Huna made a statement. Rav Huna limited the blowing of the shofar, but he b'chlal was not speaking about our Mishnah. He's speaking about a topic that we mentioned so many times and finally will clarify. It's a topic that we don't practice yet because Mashiach is not here yet, that when Mashiach comes and Yovel will come back, then on the Yovel, Yom Kippur of Yovel, the shofar is blown, and that is the ultimate calling for the emancipation of the slaves. Right? Ukarasim droir, proclaim freedom upon the land. Even though we learned that, according to some opinions, that the Avadim were already not subservient. They were free, but they needed to be in the homes of their owners. So there's a blowing. Now, who blew that shofar? So we keep on mentioning that Beis Din blows the shofar, which is correct. But now we will see that after the Beis Din blew the shofar, so did everyone else. And regarding that, did Rafuna make a statement? It says in the portion of Bahar, regarding Yom Kippur of the Yovel year, that Ubeyoyim HaKippurim ta'aviru shofar b'chol artzechem. Now listen to the words, my friends. Vishteit b'chol artzechem. B'chol artzechem clearly means not only in Beis Din. If it would only be in Beis Din, then it wouldn't say b'chol artzechem. Melamed shekol yachid v'yachid chayev l'tkoyim. Okay, now one thing that is clear: the Beis Din blew first. After the Beis Din blew, then everyone else blew the shofar. Okay, now on that came Rafuna and he said, even though kol yachid v'yachid chayev l'tkoyim, but the Beis was only the in Beis Din, only in the Beis Din. It's a big chiddush. This he's limiting it. So hold on. And my v'im Beis Din, what does it mean v'im Beis Din? Here, we can't understand it to mean inside the Beis Din, the way we had it in the first version. Because from where do we know that every yachid blows it? Because it says b'chol artzechem. B'chol artzechem doesn't mean in front of Beis Din. B'chol artzechem means everywhere. So according to this version, when Rafuna said v'im Beis Din, he means bizman Beis Din. No, it's not in b'chol artzechem, but it's only in the AM hours. That's the way we would word it. And it doesn't begin by the crack of dawn because people daven. So the normal time that the Beis Din would be open, again, Beis Din is not adjudicating on Yom Kippur, but Beis Din would open for them to blow the shofar, on the Yovel. So we know more or less in the AM hours, Taka b'chol artzechem, Zakt Rafuna, but only Bizman Beis Din, La'afuke, that Shaloi Bizman Beis Din, you missed out the opportunity, Deloi. Now, if that is the version of Rafuna, here again, we're going to have a Rava's challenge against this version. Masav Rava, it says in Abraisa, Tkiya Shofar, and of Rosh Hashana and of Yovel, Doiche es ha-Shabbos bigvulin. Doiche es ha-Shabbos bigvulin. You know what this means, my friend? Let me add another detail, that on the Yovel year, you blow shofar on Yom Kippur. There's no gzeira about that. Since everyone is going to blow the shofar on Yom Kippur, now guys, do you know that on Yom Kippur, it's Shabbos and you can't carry. But we don't make a gzeira derabba. Everyone blows it. So says the Braisa, not only did they blow it on Yom Kippur, on that year, everyone blew also on Rosh Hashana, if Rosh Hashana fell on Shabbos. Okay. So now, Rosh Hashana, v'yovel, stametz di yovel. Or you have in the Girsa, Tkiyas yovel. In other words, Tkiyas, that's his version. The Tkiyah, not only of Yom Kippur. The point is that the blowing of the shofar on the Yovel year is Doiche Shabbos, even Bigvulin. Unlike, my friends, during the times of the Beis HaMikdash, they already had Gzeira Derabba. On Rosh Hashana, they would only blow the shofar in Lishkas HaGazas. And then the Braisa adds the words Ish Ubeisai, which is difficult. Ish, what does it mean, Ish Ubeisai? Ish Ubeisai means a man and his wife. Now, does it mean that the man blows and the wife blows? That for sure not. Ilema Ish Vi-Ishtoi. Nah. Itza, a woman, Mi Mechaiva, is she obligated to blow? Can't be. Because for Mitzvah say, Shazman Garamehi. This is guys boast on the shofar of Rosh Hashana. Now, women, by the way, took it upon themselves to hear the shofar. So it's very good that we blow the shofar for women, but they're not mechuyev the way men are mechuyev. And why not? Because it's a time-bound mitzvah. V'chol mitzvah sasei shazman gerama nashen peturais. So el olav, what does ish ubeisoi mean? Ish be-beisoi, a man in his home. Now the Gemara has a very logical question. If you are told you can only blow the shofar in your home, It's Taka Yovel. Yom Kippur, you blow the shofar on Yovel, there's no Gezerah. So therefore we have now a new din. Since you're blowing shofar that year, even if Yom Kippur is like Shabbos, so that year on Rosh Hashana you can also blow the shofar, but only in your home. Why would they say only in your home? I'll tell you why. Only in your home means, in order to prevent people from carrying, you tell a person you have to blow it in your home. That's a geder, you're not going to go outside. So here's the problem. If you are blowing it only in your home, it doesn't make sense to limit it only to the time the session of Beis Din is open. Like we explained, during the AM hours, people are very careful. Oh, Beis Din is open. But if Ish Bebeis means they say you have to blow it in your home, l'chura they should allow you to do it the entire day. That goes against Rafuna. Vafilu shlei bizman Beis Din. Answers the Gemara loi. Lo'olam, Rafuna is right. It only is bizman Beis Din. What the Braisa says, that's the way the Rishonim learn, is not you are obligated to blow it in your home. You can even blow it in your home, but you can blow it in the shul, you can blow it in the Beis Din, you can blow it out there. So yeah, once you are allowed to blow it out there, Taka, they didn't make a bona fide gezerah, they didn't cut it out that year of Yovel, but at least they limited it, like Rafuna is saying, Bizman Beis Din. Masav Rav Shesha is still a shaila on this limitation of the second version of Rafuna. It says in a Braisa, Shava Yovel Rosh Hashana Litkiya Lebrachos. Now these words we had in the Mishnah, right? Litkiya means the type of shofar. That statement was by the Tanach that says that the shofar should be of a Yoel. Lebrachos means that the Shemona Esrei of Yom Kippur of Yovel is like the Rosh Hashana, the 9 bracha. Shemona Esrei, with Gemara said, but without the words Zeh Yom Tchilas Masechah. Say that, but other than that, it was all the same. Ella, here there's a detail that we don't have in the Mishnah, we have in the Braisa. Shebe Yovel Toiken Bein Bebeizin Shekitchu Ba'is HaChodesh Ubein Bebeizin Shalekitchu Ba'is HaChodesh. And V'chol Yachid V'Yachid Chayev L'Tkoya. However, Ube Rosh Hashana on Shabbos, guys, Rosh Hashana on Shabbos. This is a braisa that follows the shita of Rabbi Lazar, that limited the takanas Rabbi Yechanan and Zakkai. And another din, ve'ein kol yachad v'yachad chayiv l'tkoya. End of braisa. Now what's the kasha? Says the Gemara, hold on. My ein kol yachad v'yachad chayiv l'tkoya. What takana did the Chachamim place on Yechidim on Rosh Hashana? Ilema. If they're saying that what? The Beyovel Toikim Yechidim, Uber Rosh Hashana ain't Toikim Yechidim, that on Rosh Hashana, even though Rabbi Yechanan and Zakkai said that after the Churban, Zechel and Migdash blowed by a Beis Din, but only the Shliach Beis Din, we already quoted the story before, that over there in Yavna, people could not hear a word, there were so many people blowing the shofar, that clearly other Yechidim blew. V'haki asa Rabbi Yitzchak bar Yosef Amar ki hava mesayim shlicha d'tzivur tiki asa b'Yavna, loishama inish koil unei. No one can hear any other sound in his ear. Mikoil tikoyayo di chidoi. Elot must mean the ilu beyovel toiken bein bizman Beis Din bein shaloi bizman Beis Din. That's a problem on Rafuna. And on Rosh Hashana it's more limited. But Rosh Hashana only bizman Beis Din in shaloi bizman Beis Din loi. But here you see l'chu'ura that Rosh Hashana Yom Kippur on Yovel they would blow it every time, no limitation. Not like Rafuna. Katana miyas b'yovel bein bizman Beis Din bein shaloi bizman Beis Din. Answers the Gemara. In other words, we have to show that we're more liberal, we're more permissive on Yom Kippur Yovel than on Rosh Hashana. Yet, even Yovel, Yom Kippur Yovel, like Rafuna says, only bizman Beis Din. Loi, lo'olam, only bizman Beis Din. V'hachi ktani b'yovel. Dake bizman Beis Din toikin, but you know where? Like Rafuna, you don't have to be in Beis Din. On Yovel, bizman Beis Din, but ishu beisai, you can even blow it in your house, right? Bein bifnei Beis Din, bein shaloi bifnei Beis Din. On Rosh Hashana, even according to the Rabbi Lazar or other Tanaim in our Mishnah, toikin bizman Beis Din and du bifnei Beis Din. So you know what's a beautiful conclusion? That no matter which statement Rafuna made, let's go with the second version, but what the first girsa stands. In other words, the only way to explain this Braisa without refuting Rafuna, beautiful. Now we have like a raya to the first statement of Rafuna as well. In other words, during Rosh Hashana every year, Kit Takanas Rabbi Yechanan and Zakkai, by a Beis Din you blow. you don't only blow Bisman Beis Din, you have to blow right in Beis Din. So in Yavna, Taka, there was after the Shliach Tzipor blew, if you are in Beis Din, knock yourself out, everyone. But inside the Beis Din, the din that we learned now, that of course everyone knows that the Beis Din blows it on Yom Kippur, Yovel. The Eidim, the Avodim go free when the Shliach Beis Din blows. But Taviru Shofar B'chol Artzachem. After they blew it, everyone blew it. Everyone blew it. Not only in Beis Din, but only Bisman that the Beis Din is open. Itmanami, this is the substantiate version number 2. Amar Rabbi Chia bar Gamda, Amar Rabbi Yossi ben Sholem, Amar Rebbe. Ein toiken kaver. This is Yom Kippur on Yovel. Ein toiken ella kol zman shebeis din yoshvim. Clearly, you only blow when they are in session. It doesn't mean in Beis Din. Doesn't mean in Beis Din. But it has to be during the AM hours. Now, by Rab Zayda, let's define Beis Din in session. Now, guys, like this, we don't say, well, they sit until noon. If I don't know, then I can say until noon. But if I'm taka in Beis Din, then noonish, they begin to get up to leave. And there's that in-between phase. Like people are learning a shiur. In Yiddish, you sit and you learn. There's a certain moment where you close the Sefer, or Beis Din, the Dayanim, they finished the session, but they didn't leave the room yet. How do you view that time? Are they still in session, or are they not in session? They began, today it would mean by learning Torah, they would close the Sefer, but they're still sitting. And it's very common that people still continue the conversation. Here in a Beis Din, that Dayanim can still, they didn't leave yet. They didn't get up to leave yet. So, Ma'u, do we say Beis Din, Yoshvim Be'inan, as long as they are still sitting? So, Ve'ika. They didn't walk away from their grace. Dayanim have to sit in a high place. The Goyim stole it from us. They're still sitting in their high place, elevated place. Oidilma Zman Beis Din Be'inan. Zman Beis Din means they're in the Beis Din session. Once you close the Sefer, they take up the shaitel today, the judges, they still wear shaitlach in many places, then they're not called in session. Teiku. Now, you say the Aliyah, and the Mishnah added that during, and this is the way we learned the Mishnah, Bisman, that the Beis HaMikdash was still here, but the Sanhedrin was moved away out of the Lishkas HaGazis, then, even L'shitas Rashi, we don't need Rabbi Yechanan ben Zakkai yet. Since the Sanhedrin was in Yerushalayim, they were allowed to blow it not only in the Sanhedrin Gedolah, but in the whole Yerushalayim. Not only in the whole Yerushalayim, but in the areas that are right around it. And how did we define that? Many words. In a place, the Mishnah says, we're Roya, in a city that can see Yerushalayim, in a city that can hear Yerushalayim. Hearing means that if someone blew the shofar in Yerushalayim, people there heard it. People that were close to Yerushalayim and people that are able to come to Yerushalayim. Everyone is something else. Roya means prat li yesheves benachal. When you are near Yerushalayim, you can be within the tchum of Yerushalayim. If there is a valley, as we know, it's a very mountainous area. If you have people that live in a valley, so they can't see it. They're very close by, but this is because of topography, I think it's called. No, it's because of you being in a very low, physically low place. In the valley, you can't see. Then you can't blow the shofar there. Shemas means, prat li yesheves b'rosh shahar. There are some times that you are very near. But because you are on a very tall place, the height, you are within the tchum. You are within 2,000 amas, but you are very high up. So Yerushalayim is very low, so you don't hear. Kroiva means, that's simple, you have to be within the tchum. Prat li yesheves chutz l'tchum, which is really not that. In other words, if any place that was outside the tchum of Yerushalayim, you no longer were allowed to blow then. And v'yachaylo lavai is a technical thing. You could be within the tchum, but there could be a river that doesn't allow you to go through. There could be a certain type of obstacle on the road. Even though you're close and you can see and you can hear, so you can't blow. V'yachaylo lavai prat lamafsik leinohara. Okay, Chavra, from here until the end of Daf Lamed, like we mentioned in the introduction, we're going to be reviewing dinim that we learned in Sukkah Mem Aleph and Beitza Daf Dalet. So people that did not learn it yet, before they were, we all learned it when we were in our mother's wombs, but people that did not learn it yet, this will be the first time, Shalom Aleichem. And more importantly, for those who learned, as the Gemara tells us, I think in Sanhedrin, that whoever learns and does not review is like the genius that plants and doesn't reap. What are you doing? That's how important reviewing is. My Rebbe, I quoted the Hadam Alama that told me the whole reason why you learn it the first time is just to set you up with the opportunity of really learning, which is reviewing. Reviewing, which is a little bit, you have to get used to that because people like nice. Once you heard it, I know that. We don't know anything. We know very little. But even if you taka know it, you have to review it. If not, you'll forget it. I'm talking to myself. Says the Mishnah. But Shayna, before the temple was destroyed, Hoya halul of nitel b'mikdash shiva. Only in the Beis HaMikdash was the lulav taken for all the 7 days. People, when you hear this for the first time, no, you take the lulav every day other than Shabbos. No, you don't. Midoi Raisa, lifnei Hashem usamachtem, lifnei Hashem alekeichem. We learned that pasuk. It means that the samachtem refers to the lulav that you only take the arba minim when you are in front of God for 7 days. Outside the Beis HaMikdash, only 1 day. Medina, here again, Larashi, Medina means not outside Yerushalayim. Outside the Beis HaMikdash is already called out there in the Medina, only 1 day. However, Misha Chara Beis HaMikdash, he's going to be Yechanan ben Zakkai, Sheyehei Lulav Nitel b'Medina, even outside the temple, you should take it for all 7 days. Why? Zecher LaMikdash. Because Bizman Beis HaMikdash Kayam, even though I only took the lulav the first day, I knew, there's a mitzvah of Aliyah L'regel, you knew that at least in the place, you took it all 7 days. Now, if no one will take it for 7 days, people will forget. And let's go back, when Mashiach is coming, it's going to be like a foreign thing. You take lulav all 7 days. So to remember that, from the second day on, midrabanan, with all the differences, lamashal, that the type of lochem, the standard of lochem, that not even a lulav she'ula, the first day, if you don't own it, you have to get it mita'amatana, amanas lahachzir. We don't have that al pi ikir adin from the second day on because it's a lower level. It's only midrabanan. That's takana number 1. Takana number 2, let me say it out by heart, that midah oiraisa, when you live in Eretz Yisrael, and according to many, even chutz la'aretz, there's something called chadash, which means that the new grains that grow may not be partaken of until they would offer the Korban Omer. Now, when the Beis HaMikdash is standing, the Korban Omer, which was offered by the Kahanim were very expedient. They didn't kratz around. They were not procrastinators. There was never a time that they brought it after noon. Never. So even if you're not near Yerushalayim, you know that by noon the Omer was brought and you can start using your Omer. When there's no Beis HaMikdash, let's begin learning that, we'll see there's a machlokes about it, but our understanding will be that Mida Oiraisa, the morning of the 16th, the breaking of the dawn of the 16th, allows you to eat the Omer. So once the Beis HaMikdash was destroyed, you can't bring the carbon, there's no mizbeach in the right place, so you can begin eating the Chadash from the morning of the 16th. Came along Rabbi Yechanan ben Zakkai, and he says, I'm making a takana. If there's no Beis HaMikdash, you cannot eat it the entire day of the 16th. Really, logic would have been, Zecher LaMikdash, you can't eat it until noon, like we mentioned, because the Omer was always brought by noon. We have to understand why did he add the whole day. Another little nuance over here, that before the kemitza was removed from the barley that was made for the Korban Omer, they would wave it. And this is a carbon that's brought on the 16th day. So one of the names that we gave to the 16th day, some people would call it the first day Chalamoid, because in Israel, it's like the first day Chalamoid. The Mishnah calls it Yom Henef, the day of waving. It means the day of the Omer, which means the 16th of Nisan. And number 2, V'sheyehei Yom Henef kuloi asur. The way we are learning right now again, that midairaisa, since there's no carbon or Omer, that the break of the dawn should be mater the Chadash. Rabbi Yechanan ben Zakkai Zecher LaMikdash, as we'll speak out, didn't only say, no, you have to wait until noon. Here you have to wait the entire day. So first of all, Gemara begins with this whole concept of Zecher LaMikdash. And again, there's 2 types of Zecher LaMikdashin. There is remembering what happened in the past, and then there is get yourself set up, because the third Beis HaMikdash is going to be built. So be ready for the times of the Mikdash. This concept of Zecher LaMikdash, how do you know what's the source of it? By the way, we had another pasuk in Chazal, im Loi. We say this under the chuppah. You have that, but here we quote the pasuk in Yirmiyahu. The Amar Krot says that ki I will make a cure for you. I hope my ivra is good, and I will heal you from your wounds, says God. this is speaking about the coming of Mashiach, prior to which, kinitcha karolach. In other words, I called you, people called Yerushalayim nitcha, you were areis geworfen, you were discarded. And how can that be? The Torah says that's terrible because tzioni. And yet, during Galus, doirish eila, no one is seeking her. Mechlal de boy drisha. And the meaning of seeking tzion means enacting halachas, which remembers the past and prepares us for the coming of Mashiach. So what's the reason of the Yom Hanaf Kuloi? My Tama, because since if during Galus people are going to eat the Chadash from the crack of dawn, which again, according to now, we are understanding you are allowed to. So even after Mashiach will come, the Yom we're going to say to each other, what ate last year, we ate the new produce already from the morning of the 16th. So therefore, even though now we have a Beis HaMikdash, finally, thank God, but we're going to forget the Ishtaked. You know why we were allowed to eat it from the morning? Because there wasn't yet the avoid of Karbanis, there wasn't the Omer. So then the rule is, Heyer Mizrachiter. But now that we have the option of bringing the actual Karban Omer, Hashta, the Ika Omer, only after you bring the Omer are you allowed to eat Chadash. So in order to prevent people after the coming of Mashiach to make a mistake, they already said even during Galus, can't eat it in the morning of the 16th. So the Gemara wants to understand the Mivni Amos. When exactly are we saying that the Beis HaMikdash will be built? If the building will begin on the 16th, then I don't care that they didn't bring the Omer that year, because the moment it's Heyer Mizrach without a Mizbeach b'Mekoymai, then you can eat. Then there's a heter of Chodesh. The Ivna b'Shitzar harei Heyer Mizrachiter. It must be that that Beis HaMikdash is going to be built on the 15th. The presumption here is, my friends, that from the beginning of the building until the end of the building is going to be so quick that if they begin building it on the 15th, it's going to be ready enough that on the 16th before noon they'll bring the Omer already. That's how quick it's going to happen. So mechatzois hayom olahalan tishteri. Because by then, for sure, they would have brought it. As we learned in a Mishnah on Eruvin, that even Harachoikim people, during Bezman Beis HaMikdash, if you were not there to see them bringing the Omer, you didn't have to wait until night. You can say, by noon it's brought. Harachoikim mutarim achatzois hayebel lahalon lefi she'ein beis din misatzlim boy. So even though I get there's a place for a takana, Meheri Yibana HaMikdash, let Rabbi Yechanan and Zakkai say, even though there's no Beis HaMikdash, wait until Chatzois Hayoim. Why did he say the whole day is Asr? So the answer is Loi Nitzrecha, because there might be maybe the Ivna B'Chameisar Samach Lishkei Sachama. Maybe the Beis HaMikdash, the third temple, will start to be built already towards the end of the 15th, right near Shkia. Guys, by the way, that's Yontif. Last line in the Amid, or it's going to be built, the beginning of the building will be already the night going into the 16th. Then you won't have enough time to bring the Omer up until noon. Until they'll have everything ready, it's going to be ready in the late afternoon. They'll still bring it on the 16th, but it's going to be, for that one scenario, never can you eat Chadash before the end of the 16th. Asks Rashi, we have a rule from Masechta Shvois that Ein Binyan Beis HaMikdash Loi B'Yamtiv, which is the 15th before Shkia, or it's going to be built the night going into the 16th. There's another rule, Ein Binyan Beis HaMikdash Balayla. So these two scenarios cannot happen, answers Rashi, as we learned also when we learned Sukkah, and there we also learned Tosfos that quote that has the same opinion. The last line in Rashi, Hanei Mili Binyan B'dei Adam, that the human built buildings of the Beis HaMikdash are bound to those restrictions. Aval Binyan Ha'asid Lavai B'dei Shamayim Hu. And as the Rebbe speaks out, that even though the Rambam paskins that Mashiach will build the Beis HaMikdash, so this whole idea of be'ita, ba'achishena, zachu, loy zachu, it's like if the greater the schus, the more miraculous it will be. The Rambam never ruled out the possibility for it to be built b'dei shamayim. The minimum is that it's going to be built b'dei adam. And furthermore, the ikir, the chiddush of the Rebbe is that elu ve'elu divrei elikim chayim, that we will see that both things will always happen. So there's going to be a binyan b'dei shamayim aspect of it, and there's going to be a binyan b'dei adam. I know the last time that our family was in Eretz Yisrael, and we went to the Holy Temple Institute, and they have a kosher mizbeach nearby. They say that in 30 minutes, they can get the Mizbeach built b'makoymai. Now, whether you have to have a Navi telling you the exact space, or whether we can follow a halacha or a psak halacha, but that takes a moment, whichever way. But taka, now once the Beis Hamikdash starts to get built, it's going to happen very quick, beautiful, and that's why Yom Henef Kulay Asur. Now, all of that was based on the premise that Midai Raisa, when there is no Karban Omer, the morning is matter. Rabbi Yechon ben Zakkai was machmer. You can't eat Chodesh in the morning, you got to wait until the evening. We got a problem. The problem is that we're going to learn a Shita that holds that Rabbi Yechon ben Zakkai holds that when there is no Beis HaMikdash, Mida Oiraisa, you have to wait until the end of the day. Not Heir Mizrach Mater. The whole 16th has to leave for you to be allowed to eat it. If that is a shit of Rabbi Yechon ben Zakkai, then it's not a takana. Then he's explaining a pasuk in the Chumash. Now, what pasuk? The pasuk says the word ad until the 16th, and there's this general shas question: ad ve'ad bechlal, ad v'lo yad bechlal. If ad ve'ad bechlal, then God says wait until the 16th, including the whole 16th. You can't eat it on the whole 16th if there's no carbon. If ad v'lo yad bechlal, then hit the mizrach. The problem is, again, Rav Nachman by Yitzchak Omar, that's the girsa, that you should know that Rabbi Yechon ben Zakkai, the Flamet Amid Beis, follows the shita of the Tana Rabbi Yehuda. Now, guys, Rabbi Yehuda came many generations after Rabbi Yechon ben Zakkai. But who do we quote, who discussed this question of how do you teach the word ad in the context of the Omer, in the context of the Chodesh? You can't eat the Chodesh, it says ad etzem hayom hazeh. Guys, if you have a omer, you can't eat chadash until the omer. If there's no karbanos, bisman galus, then you cannot eat chadash ad etzem hayom hazeh. Now, what does it mean? Etzem hayom hazeh means you cannot eat it until the entirety of the day. But there's two ways of learning it. You can't eat it until the beginning of the day, or you can't eat it until the entirety of the day already passed. Now, Rabbi Yehuda says ad va'ad b'chlal. Rabbi Yehuda holds that midai raisa you may not eat the omer you may not eat chadash when there's no carbon omer until the end of the day. Now, how can Rav Nachman by Yitzchak say that this is what Rabbi Yechon ben Zakkai holds? Because if that's the case, it's not about Meheda Yibana HaMikdash, it's not about Zeichel HaMikdash. He's telling you what God says. The Tanan Mishachara Beis HaMikdash, this is the key word, his skin. Rabbi Yechon ben Zakkai sheyehi yoim henef kol yasser. And by the way, when we have a brayse after Rabbi Yechon ben Zakkai said those words, Amar Rabbi Yehuda. Guys, I'm sorry, this is not a brayse. This is a Mishnah Menachos. So Rabbi Yehuda tells Rabbi Yechon ben Zakkai, he wasn't living with him. He just asked, how can you say that? What do you mean, his skin? You made a takana. That's where Rabbi Yehuda says the shita, because it says without the carbon omer, it says ad etzem hayom hazeh until the entirety of the day, and Rabbi Yehuda holds ad va'ad b'chlal, mashma that Rabbi Yechon ben Zakkai holds ad v'lo yad b'chlal. And by the way, we learned the Mishnah that way, and many Amoraim learned the way we learned. But how can Rav Nachman by Yitzchak learn otherwise? And Rav Nachman by Yitzchak holds that Yoim Henef Kula Yasser l'Rabbi Yechon ben Zakkai is not because Meheda Yibana Beis HaMikdash. It's a din d'oraisa. But Rabbi Yehuda, so then they're not arguing. The Mishnah Menachos quotes a machlokes. So answers the Gemara, no, they're not arguing. That Rav Nachman by Yitzchak is telling you that the Tana Rabbi Yehuda misunderstood Rabbi Yechon ben Zakkai. That Hassan Rabbi Yehuda Katoi. He misunderstood Rabbi Yechon ben Zakkai. He understood that Rabbi Yechon ben Zakkai made this as one of his many takonos. It's a midrabanon. And that's why he told him it's not true. You forget about the Mehedi Yibana Beis HaMikdash. If there's no carbon omer, you can't eat chadash ad etzem hayom hazeh and ad va'ad b'chlal. But really, this is according to Rav Nachman by Yitzchak, v'loihi, that Rabbi Yechon ben Zakkai is telling you what God is saying. Midai raisihi. The word is hiskin. So the Gemara says, my hiskin, darash vehiskin. Hiskin doesn't always mean he made a enactment. Hiskin means that prior to Rabbi Yechon ben Zakkai, according to Rabbi Yechon ben Zakkai's understanding, he felt that people are misunderstanding the pasuk. Rabbi Yechon ben Zakkai, according to Rav Nachman by Yitzchak, not according to everyone, holds that ad va'ad b'chlal. And therefore, God does not allow you to eat the Chadash until the end of the day. It says you can't eat it ad etzem hayom hazeh, ad va'ad b'chlal. People didn't think it that way. People didn't understand it that way. So Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai was Megala. He expounded the meaning of the pasuk. So they attributed it to Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, but really it's a din d'oraisa. Bottom line is all the same, that until the coming of Mashiach, Chadash is asur until the end of the 16th. The only question is this a midrabanan of Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai because of Meheri Yibana Beis HaMikdash, or no, that's the way Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, like Rabbi Yehuda, understood a pasuk.
What happened before Beis HaMikdash?
Then you only waited until the Hakravas Omer. And as we just learned that because of Ein Beis Din Misatzlim Boy, the Omer was never brought afternoon. If you were in Yerushalayim, if you were in the Beis HaMikdash and they brought it 10 a.m., you can eat Chadash as of 10 a.m. Even if you didn't know when they bring it, you can eat it already from noon onwards. After the Beis HaMikdash is destroyed, you got to wait the whole day before you eat the Chadash. Again, either the Rabbanan Beheri Yibana Beis HaMikdash or it's Taka the Din Torah. Okay, next Takana of Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai linked to Zeichel HaMikdash. So let's go. And this is already very close at home because we're coming back to the laws of Kiddush HaChodesh, one of the major topics of our Masechta Rosh Hashana. One thing is clear, right? At night, Beis Din is closed. Adam either saw the new moon. Let's just go back to the basics. The new moon will never appear on Yom Chavtes, theoretically, unless the other month was completely unaligned, because a cycle is 29 and a half days. It is on the 30th day in which there's a possibility for you to see the new moon. When would they see the new moon? Either the night going into the 30th, then the Adam would do nothing. They would see it at night, they would go to sleep, they would wake up in the morning and go to Beis Din, just to know. Right? Or no one saw it the night of the 30th, was not visible. But during the 30th in the day, towards the evening, they would see it. Now, normally, if the Adam would see the night going into the 30th, they would come to Beis Din early on. And most of the times, that's the way it was. Sometimes in the AM, Adam would come into Beis Din and they would declare it Rosh Chodesh. But there are times that no one even saw it the night before. It wasn't even shaykh. No one was lazy. They only saw it at the end of the day. And if they see it only towards the end of the day, they would run into Beis Din right then at the end of the day. Now, let's go to Rosh Hashana. Therefore, every Rosh Hashana, when the Beis HaMikdash stands, before we had the fixed calendar, Yom Chavtes Elul is Yom Chavtes Elul. But the moment you go into the night of the 30th, everyone began to keep Rosh Hashana because maybe tomorrow will be consecrated. Now, if Taka, the Adam came on the 30th, and Beis Din made the 30th into day number 1, Rosh Chodesh, Rosh Hashana, that was the only day Rosh Hashana. When you knew about that. If no Adam came, you know what turned out? It turned out that day was Yom Lamed. So then they would keep the next day. We already spoke it out when we learned the last Masechta, just to have that clear. So during those times, even when they kept 2 days Rosh Hashana in Yerushalayim, in the Beis HaMikdash, they didn't keep Yom Aleph and Beis Tishrei. They kept Yom Lamed, and they kept Yom Aleph. Yom Lamed, it turned out that Lamed was Takanat Yontif, but from the doubt, they would keep it as if it's Yontif. That's nice, other than the avoid in the Beis HaMikdash. The avoid in the Beis HaMikdash gets tricky. Let me tell you why it gets tricky. The Talmud Shel Shachar, which is the same of a weekday, the same of Shabbos, the same Rosh Hashana, but the shiur, the lyrics that the Leviim would sing, changes. In the morning, they would never sing the lyrics of Rosh Hashana. Even in the rare case that the Adam came so early in the morning that they already made that day Rosh Hashana, B'Shachris, they would always consistently sing whatever shiur is sung during that weekday, they would sing. Because since in the vast majority of the times the Adam don't come in the morning, so everyone kept Yontav Misafik. But in the Beis HaMikdash, the Talmud Shel Shachar was a regular Talmud Shel Shachar. It's always the same. The shiur was the same. The difference will be, if it's a weekday, they don't even bring a musaf. The Mishnah doesn't speak about it, but just be aware of it. If it's a weekday, there is no musaf. Another difference will be, is that if the Adam were to comment to say today is Yom Tiv, so then when they would bring the Talmud Shel Beinu Arbayim, they would have the special shiur of Rosh Hashana. Our Mishnah makes it clear that the Levim and the Beis HaMikdash would not only sing in Shachris, they would also sing it in the afternoon. And just Laha'ir, that it was the Arizal that instituted, we in Galus saying every day the Shir Shal Yoim. But interestingly, when do we say it? Only by Shachris. We don't say it in Mincha. In the Beis HaMikdash, the Levim, they would sing by Tom and Shal Shachar. If there's a Musaf, they would sing by Musaf. By Mincha, every day they would sing. But we only say it in the morning, both Shabbos and weekdays. But let's come back over here. The big issue is another detail that we'll just speak out B'Kitzer Bal Peh. If the Edom would come very late, right, and they already brought the weekday mincha, which is the same mincha of Yom Tov, but they would sing the wrong shir. What happens if Edom comes after? What happened to Musaf? Musaf would never get ruined, because even though we learned many times what we call the asay of Hashlama, Allah Hashlim Kol HaKavarnas Kolam, which means that after the Talmud Shel Ben Arbaim, nothing can be brought other than the Pesach. Or other than, if you remember, if someone is Mechusar Kippurim and they didn't bring the Kippurim, they bring the Kippurim. There are exceptions. The Tosfos says, whether we learned to some Psachim or wherever else we learned, it says that if Beis Din would not think today is Rosh Hashana, which is what happened once, and they would bring the Talmud Shel Ben Arbaim with the shiur of the weekday, and then the Edom would come, they would bring Musaf. Because a mitzvah derabim will override this mitzvahs asay not to bring everything after the mincha. But the problem will be is that the shiur of mincha will be wrong, and that you cannot fix. So what happened was, even though really Edom can be accepted the whole day, but since pam achas nishtohu Edom lo, they delayed in coming, and not because they're lazy. It could be they only saw the new moon late in the afternoon, and they already brought the Karban Mincha. They already brought the Karban Mincha. And the morning Mincha, Chavra, the shiur of the morning Mincha on Rosh Hashana was always the weekday shiur. Always. But the afternoon, normally by then Edom would come. Then they would sing the unique capital connected to Rosh Hashana, but it was too late. The Neskalkalu Alaviyam B'Shir, the lyrics, the words, that was messed up. Again, we don't mention Musaf because Musaf was brought after Mincha. So because of that one occasion, and because of this kilkul of singing the wrong shir, so they made a takana. Guys, this takana was made not by the Rabbi Yechanan and Zakkai. This was made by Sanhedrin whenever this happened. Hiskinu shelo yiu mekablam ela ad hamincha. And you know what? If mincha was brought, the im bo edim in hamincha lamayla. So what do they know now? Really, they know today is Aleph. They would not say today is Aleph. Now, if they would not say today is Aleph, so they're saying that what's today? Lamed. Lamed is a weekday. So don't think that just because they're paskening, we're not accepting the Edom. Now it's clear it's Lamed. It doesn't mean that from now until the end of the day, they can go back to weekday activities. They did not allow for that to happen. Midrabanan. Because if people who begin a day, maybe today is Rosh Hashana, if there's even going to be one time where it turned out that even though Edom came, it's a weekday, people even before will say, you know what, maybe today is a weekday. So they made a takana that if Edom come in a mincha lamayla, since really today is Rosh Hashana, Taka Rosh Hashana, even though today is going to be Lamed, you have to finish keeping Yom Tov. Nahagen oisa Yom Kodesh, and then the next day, they declared as Yom Aleph. That's a big thing. Even though Edom said that Lamed is Yom Aleph, the next day should have been Yom Beis. That's so they made that takana because of the kilkal b'shir. Now, that problem of singing the wrong melody by mincha is only when you bring karbanos. So Mishachar Beis HaMikdash, here we have another takana of Rabbi Yechanan ben Zakkai connected to the Churban. Here's Rabbi Yechanan ben Zakkai. Shiu mekabel midas hachodesh kol hayoim on Rosh Hashana. No matter what time they come, people say, why do you need to have a takana of Rabbi Yechanan ben Zakkai? There's no Beis HaMikdash. The whole problem l'chatchila was only because of a potential kilkul b'shir. But we learned this rule that any rabbinic rule, Gezeda, takana, that was enacted by the count of the Sanhedrin, even if it was done for only one reason, and that one reason is non-existent, the takana stands. You can only undo that takana if you make another minyan. Sometimes we learned you have to have even more age and more wisdom, more chachma and more numbers, but you have to have another minyan, and he made that other minyan. Now, we're going to conclude today's daf. Very easy Gemara now. What exactly went wrong? So I kept on saying they sang the melody of the weekday. There was really a machlokes between the Yidden that lived in Bavel and the other Yidden. What exactly happened that year? The nakud that we get, again, the morning of the 30th, whether Aiden came, didn't come, they would always, morning Rosh Hashana, the shiur was the shiur shel choil. What melody is in the choil? We have that in Talmud. We're going to have some of this tomorrow. There was a fixed, every day, we say it in davening, based on what they did in the weekday. Normally, Aiden would come sometimes in the AM, if they saw it the night before. So then they would bring Musaf of Rosh Hashana, and they would bring the Mincha, and they would sing the shiur of Rosh Hashana. We'll see today what the shiur is. And Shalom Al Yisrael. And that will be the only day Rosh Hashana, because today was Aleph. Again, one time they came so late, Mincha was brought, they thought it's a weekday. And what did they do? So, Ma Kilkol Aviyam Bashir. So the Gemara wants to let you know that in Bavel itself, you know how they interpreted the Mishnah. Not the way we said, that they sung the weekday. No. The Kilkol was they sung nothing. Because they felt, Shachris, no matter what you sing the weekday, it's correct. Even if Adam come later, that's the way they made it, set it up. That's the rule. But for Mincha, it will depend. They didn't know what's going to happen. They probably knew the cheshbon. They knew that the moon was visible. That's why they suspected Adam are coming, but Adam didn't come yet, so they sung nothing. That was the kilkol. That sholei amru shira kol ikar. But that's only the way they interpreted the kilkol here, meaning in Bavel. But Rab Zeira Amar, no. What happened was Sha'amru Shira Shal Choil Im Tamid Shal Beinu Arbayim. That was their kilkol. They never didn't sing at all, but that's also a kilkol. And now Amru Loi Rab Zeira to his son Ahava Liahava Berei. These Babylonians are learning wrong, and go enlighten them. And he tells them, Puk Tani Lahu, go teach the Braisa that Mistama they never heard of, because this Braisa implies that I'm right and they're wrong. What state in the Braisa? They made a takana, not Rabbi Yechanan. They made a takana during that, after that mistake. Shelo yiyu makabel midas hachodesh elo kedei sheyehei shehus bayoim lahakriv temidim umasafim v'neskayim v'loimer shira sheloi b'shibush. For them to say shira without a shibush, without a blunder. Now, the premise of his proof, or the kasha on the Bnei Bavel, is based on the premise that shibush means some sort of active commission, not passive omission. That was the Havamina. So, Marta B'Shleima, like I'm right, which I'm right, that Amur Shira D'Chol, they said, if no Adam come, they say the weekday lyrics, Hainu the Ika Shibush. That's the meaning of Shibush. That's a blunder. That's a mistake. It's an active mistake. But according to you, Amrat Loi Amur Klal, the word Shibush doesn't fit. My Shibush Ika, they didn't make a mistake. They just didn't, omission. You can say, well, I didn't do. Says the Gemara, excuse me, sir. Not doing is the greatest mistake. Sometimes it's a good lesson. Be a doer. Sometimes you'll do it wrong. Doing it wrong is better than not doing it. Don't think be better safe than sorry. No. That's the word shibush. Okay, another challenge on the Chachmei Bavel. It says in a Braisa, Tamid Shol Rosh Hashana, Shachris, cut off Kilchase. Like we mentioned, Kilchase means that even if Adam came for some reason very early, they already said today is Rosh Hashana. The shiur of the Shachris Rosh Hashana was always the weekday. Kilchasi means the weekday shiur. But Musaf, now guys, Musaf means the Adam came, because if Adam didn't come, you don't bring the Musaf. So let's begin. So here's the Gavaldik. They would say Kapitel Pei Aleph. What's Kapitel Pei Aleph? Hadninu lalikim uzeinu. Sing joyously to God. Horiyu, sound the trua. That's why they said it on Rosh Hashana. Blow the trua to the God of Yaakov. They would say Kapitel Chavtes, Koil Hashem Yachel Midbar. The voice of Hashem convulses the desert. Now, here's the challenge. How can you say Musaf, my friends, Kapitel Pei Aleph? We're going to learn tomorrow. We learned on Talmud. What Kapitel do you say every weekday Thursday? Harninu lalikim ozeinu. And they didn't want for there to be a complete repeat. So says the Braisa, Ubizman Shechal Rosh Hashana Liyas B'Chamishi B'Shabbos, which by the way can even fall nowadays. It's common Thursday, Friday, Shabbos. So in the morning, so Shashira Shaloi Hadninu Lalikim Ozeinu, and we just said that even if Adam would come before the morning, Rosh Hashana morning in the Beis HaMikdash, they would always sing the weekday Shira, but now they know they're going to be repeating it. So not to repeat it. Right? they wouldn't begin with Haninu, guys. They would say that kapitel, but they wouldn't begin with these words. Because you don't want to have a total repeat. What did you say with the morning Tamid? Take kapitel pei aleph, chevra. But you would begin with the words Hasiroisi misevel shichmai. Right? Remove his soldier from his burden. In other words, you would skip the first part of pei aleph in the morning. Now, v'im bo edem achar tamen shol shachar. So you already began the morning from the beginning. Oimer, and therefore, even though Oimer Haninu, you say Haninu again, even though Afal Pisha Chayzer V'Kavaz HaPerek. Don't forget, not the end of the world. Now comes along the Abzeida's attempted proof against the Bnei Bavel. It's like Amrat Bishloime, that I'm right. That what? That Kol Heicha the Meshapka Menin and Shiro the Choil makes sense, right? It makes sense. Hainu the Ko Amru V'Koiflei, because then it comes out they said Haninu in the morning, and now that Adam came, right? If they don't know what to do, if you don't know what to do, you say the weekday. That will be the case. They said the weekday, and then they have to repeat it. But according to you, right? Elai Amrat. If you understand that in the case of the Mishnah, they caught Bnei Bavel, that whenever by Talmud Shal Ben Arbayim they had a suffix, they didn't say it at all. So asks Rab Zera, should it not be, Chavra, that every time Rosh Hashana falls on Thursday, they should not say the beginning of Shachris? And if they don't say in the beginning of Shachris, they'll never repeat it. If by doubt you omit, if by doubt you say the weekday b'diyuk, if by doubt you omit, you're not going to double it. Daf Lamed Aleph. No, answers the Gemara. Big difference. If you have a doubt whether it's one kapitel or a different kapitel, completely, which is what happened that dear Mincha, then they didn't say anything. But if you're gonna say Manavshach, you're saying this kapitel. The only question is, are you beginning it from the beginning or are you beginning it from the middle? That it doesn't bother us. Shani Hasam, since it's Thursday and it's anyways the shira of the day, and even if it's already going to be Rosh Hashana, you're gonna say that kapitel. It's just you don't say it from the beginning. So in order not to be koifelet, to omit it, that they would not do. Bekitzer, the Bnei Bavel and Abzeda are still standing in their machlokes, and tomorrow we're going to continue a very beautiful sugya about what shira was sung, why there has to be some rhyme and reason. Why is the melody sung on that day? Until now it was simple because they mentioned about the shofar, Horiu Lifnei HaMelech Hashem. But we're going to see the meaning and the connection between the kapitlach and the day of the week.